welcome to our day 3 of our booty camp. And yeah, so let's just jump straight to it. There's too much content today, but I believe there's nothing new for you guys because yeah. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so what will be our content today? IPA, price intentions, liquidity, types of liquidity, liquidity order, and lit cycle, LIT cycle. But we won't go through any liquidity cycle because we don't need that, but I don't mind talking about those. So let's go. Let's jump straight into it. Yeah, so we'll start our day slowly and just test you guys how you've been studying the algo structure MSU. And if you have been studying for real, then you guys must have noticed some flaws of the MSU setup, and we'll get to that. So let's go to our first. And those are examples from this week, by the way. So you could have seen that happening. And those are examples of trades that either you have taken or any of our members have taken. So all of this is realistic. Okay, so what's happening here? From higher time frame, we are tapping into EPA, okay? And obviously, this is 15 minutes. This is 1D EPA. So of course, the flow is bearish. And now we are trying to find a continuation trade, right? So let's say, I don't know. Can anyone annotate it? Like, where's the MSU? Where's the MSU gonna happen? And this was 27. Okay. So the correct answer, of course, we are in the continuation trade. You should always look for the last break of structure as your MSU. Yes, exactly. This is your last break of structure, most recent. So this becomes a certain type of liquidity, and we'll talk about that in the bootcamp in future slides. So let's go to the result. Manipulation setup. Yeah. Yeah, and as you can see, this was the FBOS. This was the inducement liquidity, which we'll talk about later, and true BOS happening. And you guys could have banked easy sells on this move, right? So this was 28. This was Asian session of 28th of October. If you guys want to test it out and study it. Okay, so let's move to the next. Yeah, so again, this is pre-New York or pre-London. I don't know what time zone it is. It doesn't matter. What's happening here? We are on higher time frame. We are tapping into higher time frame liquidity, external liquidity, and we are tapping into, this is supposed to be DBR, which means drop base rally. Drop, oh my God, I'm retarded. Drop base rally POI. For some of you who don't know, it's just, it's not important, but basically what's happening here is this, we are doing this, we have our last sell to buy here, the price is going higher, and there's inefficiency inside of this and inside of this. So the only OB possible is here, and this is the OB that we are reacting of. So where is the MSU? The possible MSU? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and obviously we are looking for a reversal trade. But as I said before, with the flaw, yeah, correct. So let's go to the result. And we'll get to the problem with this concept straight away. Yeah, so this was the result of that day. And many of you have gotten into these buys, which is crazy, of course. This was the FBOS. Oh no, this is the inducement. After the inducement, we have a key BOS. The inducement becomes a strong low, all right, from a structural point of view. So just take a mitigation of this would be fine. So that was someone straight that day. I took buy here and I had break even, but I was in the shower. So yeah, and for the sells, we won't cover the sells yet. Yeah, we won't cover the sells yet. Those are different topics. We can do that after we get to liquidity. So let's go to the next slide. So this is just you're just refreshing your knowledge that you have gotten from the last from the last bootcamp, all right, from the last day. So again, what's happening here? Yeah. So again, this was the last breakout structure into a rebalance, which means there's FEG here and price is rebalancing. All right. So we'll get into that in the next slide as well. And why did price go back here? Just because of this IPA. Right? Does everyone get it? Or am I going too fast? Press 1 if you get it. Yeah, press 2 if you want an explanation again. But it's pretty simple, right? So those are basics. There's nothing easier than this. All right, okay. Let's go to the next one. So many good setups just using MSU. And this was like on Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, there's this London build up. All right, and here you can see the MSU playing out again on the buy side, right here. Right, so I told you, what are the characteristics of the continuation MSU? It's gonna be either, for those who don't remember, how do I know that this breakout structure is gonna be fake? Or how do I anticipate it, right? It's gonna be either a displacement, which means that this distance is gonna be very small of the next breakout structure, and we start pulling back right away. All right, so this is one. Doesn't come back to 50% of a range, that's 2. Doesn't tap into, doesn't become efficient, that's 3. All right, and the 4 taps into liquidity from the left side. So what's happening here on this example? Inefficient price action, 1. Displacement, you see this like 1 pip, okay? Displacement, we then sweeps this build up. So of course we are gonna sweep something from the sell side now as we swept something from the buy side, right? And the inefficiency, displacement, and that's everything. So FBOS, inducement, key BOS, strong low. And I took a buy here. No, I didn't, but one of our mentors did. Yeah, so very simple stuff, right? And we can proceed to the next guy. No, 2 more examples. Oh, one last example. So again, we are on higher time frame. We are bearish. You can try to guess or to anticipate where the next MSU setup is gonna play out. And okay, perfect, nice. So we can get to the result. Very simple. We can go to the next slide. Next link. And yep, this was the last breakout structure, which we always consider fake. This is the inducement PBOS. This becomes a strong point unless something major from the left is being taken out. Okay. But even if something major from the left is being taken out, I'm sure this will give you at least a small reaction before blasting through, if not being a continuation point. But there's again this IPA, so we can't trade that. We should not trade that. Okay, so we can go to the main topics of today. And I'm glad that some of you go to MSU, right? And you see it. So IPA, simply, IPA, inefficient price action, is a price action where orders aren't transferred or tapped into, which means that the orders are still there in one place. The efficient price action is when all of the price is already filled and most likely heading to the next liquidity pool or unbalanced area. And that becomes order flow, by the way. So we can go to diagrams and we'll see what happens. Or it doesn't, or it doesn't tap into 50% of the range. Perfect. Yeah. So this price balance, yeah, I should mention that, right? So inefficient price action doesn't tap into, efficient price action taps into. So we can go to the whiteboard and I'll show you guys in how I use it in the real market. All right. So as simple as that, if we have a valid trading leg, what is a valid trading leg? If we have an uptrend, for example, this is all external liquidity. We take this out, then we take this, and then we take this out, right? Yeah, so like this. This is our valid trading leg, right? Because the structural points are protected, this guy in particular. And if I'm trading here inside of the inside of the reversal, after IPA being printed out, I don't take a trade anymore. And then so we just take trade here for mitigation. And if price somehow comes back, for example, from here, we can take a trade directly from here, or just wait for an MSU setup and trade off that. Yeah, I'll add it to Telegram. So this is one scenario. The other one is a direct pullback, which means that price won't do any additional structural points. For example, for example, like this. If price comes back from here, I'm not gonna take trade from here anymore. But if price retraces right away after the break of structure, the key break of structure, and it doesn't matter what price really does. When price arrives here, we can take a trade directly from here. So that's how I use it. And there's one more scenario. Yeah, so this is the breakout structure, and we have IPA left out. The only scenario I would take a trade even when there's inefficient price action is an MSU. So if price breaks, this is a fake breakout structure, this is inducement, this key breakout structure, it would be fine to take a trade from here and continue. But this whole IPA is not really that important compared to other things. And it's a topic for one whole session. Whatever time frame, it can be 1 hour. We can have an MSU on 1 hour. We can have this on 1 minute. But of course, the higher time frame IPA is gonna be more significant than this. If price does this on 5 minutes, then I don't really care about this inefficiency on 1 minute. So after this, we can start positioning ourselves in trades here. But of course, price has no, price is not forbidden to go higher than this, taking this out, and yeah. But usually if an IPA is left out, you're gonna have a reaction of those zones, of those untapped zones. So that's everything you need to know about this guy.
And regarding this, Milan, so this has to come from an MSU, or it can be like from a mitigation, from a liquidity sweep. You know what I mean?
What exactly?
So in this case, we had an MSU, and then we started the order flow berries. So, but
Yes.
it was after an MSU. But can this be after a mitigation or after a liquidity sweep?
Yeah, this can be of, yeah, I used MSU because that's the most valid trading range that can be. But of course, if we are just mitigating something and we are trading off it, I would I would treat it the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
So yeah. So you say API is not that important. It is, but you can trade without it. This is the only knowledge that you need. And we can go in depth in our last sessions. But first, understanding liquidity, structure, and higher time frame is more important than this 10% of the whole knowledge. So let's continue. Yeah, I think there was a link on the no, can you go back? There was a link on efficient and inefficient price action, just so people can see it. Yeah. Yep. So what is this? Oh, nice. Okay. So again, you see inefficient price action on 1 minute, it will give you a reaction. It doesn't have to hold, essentially hold as a structural points, but it will give you a reaction that you can trade a pullback of or something. Depends on the higher time frame narrative. Same here. This price was inefficient on 1 minute. This was efficient on 5 minutes, but still doesn't mean it can't go back here anymore. So it's really subjective, and there's no systematical way for you to use this except for experience. All right, and there must be something here from the left, but that's not important. Okay, so it's just a small topic that I wanted to mention. Yep, there we go. And a small advice on how to trade, how to pick ranges to trade from. 50% of the range. Can we go to whiteboard again? I'll draw it. And this is the same as IPA EPA. It may or may not work. Okay. So if we have a range, let's say this was our last push, most recent push. Here, our 50% is, let's say, well, this is bad. It has to line up with the IPA, EPA. So yeah, so the structure is here. Actually, if price comes into 50% and takes off, it doesn't have to continue lower anymore, considering that price is already efficient and tapping into equilibrium, because the whole price action here is already balanced. But as you can see, the problem with this is it lines up with liquidity. Break and retest, breaker liquidity, And this would even be our MSU setup and become inducement liquidity for this, right? So I only suggest using it on higher time frame. And yeah, and people trading on 50%. Yes, that's liquidity. That's a major level as well. So let's get back to the scenario before. Let's say there's inefficiency here, right? And price breaks this. We have inefficient price action again. The only time I'm gonna continue looking for trades is an MSU and 50% of the range being filled. And now for this, after this being printed out, it's safe to trade from here. So that's the whole IPA with equilibrium. Yep. So now we can go to the main thing, the liquidity. Or are we? Do we have liquidity? No, market intentions. Okay. So now we are getting to a concept that has no particular use in the market for now, but after you testing it, you'll eventually get how to use it. So the market intentions. Every move in the market, it's just either rebalance liquidity to rebalance, from rebalancing to rebalancing, or liquidity to liquidity. And I'll show examples of all of this. And every single move in the market will fall into one of those four. As simple as that. Okay, let's go to the link. All right. So what is a rebalance? Rebalance is filling a VG or inefficiency, as simple as that. So let's check our first move. And this move came from I don't know where, but we are not gonna bother with it. And the point of this move was to clear liquidity, right? After taking this liquidity out right here, this would be a structural or external liquidity, right? After taking this liquidity, price came back and rebalanced the price, rebalanced this wick, the inefficiency in this wick, right? After rebalancing it, what did the next move do? Move down and rebalance this AVG. This on higher time frame, this is 15 minutes. On 1 hour, this would be one candle, and it's just filling the AVG. After rebalancing, so this means this is liquidity to rebalance, rebalance to rebalance, and now rebalance to rebalance again. We are just filling the inefficiency here. And then we have rebalance to liquidity and liquidity to liquidity. And every single move in the market works like this. So how can we make a use of it, or how can we leverage this? Simply by marking higher time frame levels. All right. So what I suggest to do, just go on 1 hour or 15 minutes is fine, and mark out levels that need to be rebalanced and liquidity levels. And you'll see every time price reaches, it's most probably gonna reverse. And if it's not gonna reverse, for example, you could say, okay, this is my liquidity, right? Price might do this. If it doesn't reverse, then of course it's gonna just do something deeper. But that's the whole use of this. And yeah, we are just speed running it because I don't see this as that important topic compared to others. But if you guys want, we can have one separate session just for this, just for studying this. But before that, I would ask you guys to study it on your own, every single move. And then if you guys don't get it or struggle with it, then maybe we'll do the session.